Hey, so I'm sitting on the floor in a room in my house and I'm sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. I've just had an epiphany in a therapy session, and that epiphany is not well formed in words yet, but the experience is one of deep grief about something that suddenly it's obvious that things are not the way they seemed. And so I'm sobbing and sobbing, and the epiphany is something around how I've been going about it all wrong. Somehow the way I've been thinking of my life is wrong. And specifically, relationships. I, I've grown up thinking that I was unlovable somehow, due to my relationship with my mother. And the way I've been going about fixing that is trying to change other people. So, trying to change my mom, trying to get her to love me the way I needed to be loved. And then it showed up in my social life, and most recently it's shown up with my husband and even my choice of a husband. Really, I was going to fix the relationship with him. I was gonna somehow make it all better and that was gonna solve things. But I'm just realizing in this moment that it's really not working, and that my passionate quest for the light was doomed from the start. So I have this sense of doom, really. And, as I just can't stop crying, but as I think back to all the things that I tried to do, it just all seems like I've been going about it wrong. So what what I'd like you to get from this is that my reality, which is that I was unloved, had me want to change people, which is really not a kind thing to do. Like, people are the way they are, and they are, doing their best. It doesn't always seem that way, but they are really doing their best. And so what I know now is that I really needed to heal myself first. But I didn't know how to do this. So in this video, I'd like to tell you about 3 ways that you can debunk some of those realities that you take for granted that are ill-fated. And so in debunking those, maybe you have a shot at creating your own happiness, or at least a much better shot, and really a shortcut. But first, let me introduce myself if you don't know me. So my name is Sonia Wires, and I'm a Gestalt therapist, and I'm also the founder of Eudokima. And so, in case you're wondering, Eudokima is a Greek verb in the present tense in the plural, but it's an active form, meaning to grow, to thrive, and to prosper. And that's really my mission in life, is to help you along your personal growth and development journey, so that precisely you can grow, thrive, and prosper. And one of the ways that you can do that is by increasing your awareness of what drives you. So the reality I was talking about before. And and in particular, these false sense of reality that you have that are hindering your ability to be free, or to be truly yourself in your life. So Louise Hay says that if you accept a limiting belief, it will become a truth for you. You know how I was thinking I was unlovable and I needed to change my mom or someone to make it better? Well, that was my truth. So, but how can you let go of a limiting belief that you don't even know that you have? And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. So I'm going to talk about 3 things that can get you started on that path. The first thing is to look at your closest relationships and ask yourself, how authentic are you able to be and how satisfied are you in those close relationships? Now, this is super important. Perhaps you've heard, even from me, about the happiness study at Harvard. That was the 7-year study that was looking at what drives a good life or a satisfying life. And so they followed Harvard sophomores and people of the same age from the neighboring inner city neighborhoods, and they followed all these people and then their wives and their children, their families, and they did medical tests and had conversations with them, and they tracked everything. And at the end of 70 years, their conclusion is happiness is love, full stop. And so the state of our relationships is one of, it's probably the biggest driver actually of our happiness, but also has an impact on our health and our longevity. So that's why that's why it's important to look at our relationships and see, how authentic are you able to be and how satisfied are you in your relationships. And so if, do you know what makes a relationship satisfying for you? Do you have some satisfying relationships that that you can take as a benchmark, or is that still something you're wondering about? For me, definitely, it was super important in my journey. Like I just said, with my mom, I had a relationship that was difficult where I felt like she couldn't see me, that the impact of that is that I didn't really have a good sense of who I was. And that had an impact on my social life and on my choice of a husband. And then my relationship with my husband, obviously. But before my husband, it had an impact on, my romantic relationships before that too. So it had a crucial determining effect on my path, early in life, and not that early. The time that I was sobbing in my house, I was already 30 years old. So that's, really important. And I just want to mention, in my program, the Experience Your True Happiness Haven, we go deep into that, into your relationships and what works, what doesn't, and then how to make it work better. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk to you about, is looking at your closest relationships. The second thing I want to talk to you about today is about how you take care of yourself. And how do you take care of your needs, on a daily or weekly basis, like in the nitty-gritty of your daily life? Because in addition to relationships, it's important to take care of yourself, because if you're waiting for others to take care of you, to know to know what you need and then to take care of your needs, well, that's pretty risky, because nobody can know you as well as you do. Even if you feel that you don't know yourself very well, it's impossible for someone else to know you as well as you know yourself. And so in this current context with COVID and all the disruptions in the world, self-care has actually never been as important as right now. So I really invite you right now to think of one thing that you can include in your self-care routine, something that is good for you, whether it feels good or whether it's going to be good for you, whether it's exercise, whether it's taking relaxation or taking time off, or, whatever. You probably know, if you have enough self-care in your life, and, what's one thing you could add in this period where we need more self-care. So while I was busy believing that I was unlovable, I wasn't taking terribly good care of myself. I don't think, I even had a concept what that was. So I was, constantly looking at how other people were taking care of my needs, and, how they weren't really taking good care of my needs. Well, how could they? But I didn't know that back then. And, honestly, right now, it's hard for me to believe that I didn't know that back then. So in the last module of the Experience Your True Happiness Haven, one of the things I do with my clients is I coach them on creating a self-care routine that's really well adjusted to who they are and to what they want out of their lives. So, and that's aligned with their authentic self. And so after we've gone through all the modules, then it's actually, much easier to create the self-care routine and the ways to take care of yourself in a way that's meaningful for you. So that's what I wanted to say about self-care. And the third and last thing I want to talk to you about is paying attention to your thoughts. So what are you saying to yourself? I used to think about how people didn't really love me and how things were unfair and all that. And I used to think that others needed to change, my mom, my husband, my friends, everybody. And those thoughts were really not helpful. I'm sure you can see it clearly when I tell you about my story. So take a moment right now and observe the thoughts that you have. Can you identify some thoughts that are not that helpful? Especially chronic thoughts. I mean, sometimes we have a thought that's not helpful, but we can let it go. But the thoughts that are chronic, that keep coming, that are not helpful, those are the ones you might want to observe. And they might actually put you on the path to a limiting belief that you didn't know that you had. So in the Experience Your True Happiness Haven, that's of course something that we look at all the time because thoughts give us so much information. And it's important to learn to relate to your thoughts in a way that doesn't handicap you. So I'm sure you can see that's pretty clear. So that's what I wanted to say about your thoughts. So 3 things, right? So your relationships, how authentic do you feel and how satisfied do you feel? Your self-care, like what's your relationship to self-care, to taking good care of yourself? And third, your thoughts, like what are some of your chronic thoughts that maybe are less than helpful? What are some of your chronic thoughts that are helpful too? You can do an inventory, but in terms of uncovering limiting beliefs that are not accessible or that you're not aware of, it's usually from the thoughts that are not helpful. And so one of the most common questions I get is, Sonia, this is great, but what do I do next? And well, what you can do next, that's why I created the Experience Your True Happiness Haven. So let me say just a few words about that. So it's a 1-year deep dive program where we're going to go through all areas of your life, one by one, and I'm going to guide you to finally experience your true happiness. So we do work on your relationships, we do work on your self-care, and we do work on your thoughts, and so much more. And so I'm going to put the link to the application for the program below this video. And what you can do next, if you want to go further, is to fill it out and submit it, and we can get started right away. But right now, I'd like you to picture a day. I'd like you to picture a day where you confidently know that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Picture a day when you can stop searching for your happiness everywhere and you can start doing something else. Picture a day when you can find a peaceful place inside no matter what. That's really what I want from you, that you're able to find that peaceful place inside, whatever happens on the outside. That doesn't mean that we're always happy with what happens. There's, as you know, right now, these are some of the most difficult times that we've known for those of us who, haven't known war in our backyard. But, I don't know. This is all the limitations and all the changes in our sense of freedom and our ability to be with people. Those are really difficult times. So it doesn't mean that we don't want to change anything. But we have to start from a place where everything is fine the way it is before we can hope to make a change that's meaningful. And believe me, I've been there. I mean, I've been in places where I wanted things to change and I was not willing to be where I was, and I was just constantly looking to be somewhere else. But that is still what I want from you. I mean, I've learned how to do that much, much better than I used to, you know, and sometimes we fail, sometimes we're not able to do it, but that's okay. You know, it's an intention, and to also believe that it's possible. And so that's really what I want from you. And the reason that I am talking to you about all this right now in the first place is that I want you to not let anybody tell you that you can't be happy. Life is too short to spend another minute not living in harmony with yourself and with your environment. I really feel passionate about this, you know. It's what is done, but now's the time to start doing something about it. There's not a moment to waste. There's not a moment to wait, and there's not a moment to waste. It's really time for you to experience your true happiness. I hope you agree with that, because there's no two ways about it. So here's the link again if you'd like to apply for the Experience Your True Happiness Haven. So the link is below. I hope this video brought you something you can use right now, and that if you want to go further, you know you can click the link below. Thank you.